Hey, no one does it better. I'll admit it. Car key under pressure. I'll admit it. Oops, I changed the weather. I'll admit it. Baby, egg roll, rolling up the payroll. Really by my gouda a lot. Big butt hump, shot for shot. If you wanna scrap, pull up. Baby, egg roll, rolling up the payroll.
On July 25th, 2001, Alex Jones would have an interesting broadcast that he would later claim predicted the future.
So glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press at one of your little drills you had, and that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite, he's the boogeyman they need.
His prediction would become scarily accurate, as on September 11th, 2001, Al-Qaeda, funded by Osama bin Laden, would fly 2 planes into the World Trade Center and attempt to fly another one into the Pentagon. This would result in nearly 2,000 Americans dead, and at least 1 person dead from 50 different countries. By the next day, Alex Jones immediately jumped to conclusions in this September 12th, 2001 broadcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's September 12th, 2001. I'm Alex Jones, your host. On 9/11, on 9/11 of September 2001, yesterday, as we do this show live, a mass bombing that I have predicted for the last 5 years occurred. They are going to now use terrorism as a pretext to destroy our civil liberties. I believe from all of the evidence before us that I'm about to cover, either the government actually carried out this bombing themselves, the New World Order occupational government, to create the crisis, to offer the solution, or, ladies and gentlemen, they allowed terrorists from somewhere in the world who were state-sponsored because of the sophistication of this to engage in this sinister activity. You are now going to see a massive response, a all-out covert war with assassinations of leaders in Middle Eastern nations, special forces being unleashed globally, also probably cruise missile and bomb attacks, perhaps even nuclear. We've been hearing some discussion of tactical nukes being used. Things are never going to be the same. The Israelis moved into the West Bank and attacked the Palestinians, who fought back with sticks and stones last night. If you believe the Palestinians waged this sophisticated attack, hijacking at least 4 planes, now we're hearing 5 or 6, the whereabouts of which are unknown, then you believe that ants can fly to the moon. These people have absolutely nothing. I'm not defending them. I hear people calling into radio talk shows, calling into my talk show, saying we should turn all of the Middle East into a glass parking lot. Yeah, let's kill a couple 100 million people, many of which are innocent. We don't even know if they were responsible, though the government since hour one has been telling us this, just like they did in April 19th, 1995, for the first 2 days, telling us it was Arab terrorist. We've proven Oklahoma City was a government terrorist bombing. Again, I'm Alex Jones, your host. My website, full of the documentation we're about to cover, is Infowars.com. I want to thank Mike Hansen for being here to run the show today. We have been predicting this nightmarish development for years. And now it is beginning to unfold. You're not going to hear this information anywhere else, my friends, other than a few isolated talk radio stations and analysts around the world. They need terrorism as a pretext to bring in the modern police state. Hitler burned the Reichstag, blew up his own Capitol building right after being elected to abolish the presidency and declare himself the Fuhrer. He then confiscated the guns and began to turn his secret police, the Gestapo, the SS, loose on the public. It's now even on the History Channel with the actual communiques and documents that Pearl Harbor was a terrorist action, and that the federal government allowed it to transpire to create the indignation, to create the pretext for that war. I'm not defending Imperial Japan any more than I am defending Osama bin Laden. But at this point, we don't know who engaged in these attacks. We just have suspects. But I have a big question. Who stands to gain from all of this? Who has the motive? Well, the EU has a motive, the federal government has a motive, and Middle Eastern terrorists have a motive. But I remember the first World Trade Center bombing. It only killed about a dozen people and injured 1,000 from smoke inhalation. And a few months later, it was in the October 28th, 1993 New York Times front page that the FBI was recorded by informants, the head of the FBI in New York, saying the bombing goes forward. You see, the FBI hired Arabic-speaking agents like Mr. Salam to go in there and cook the bomb, train the drivers, tell them where to park it. Mr. Salam came to him and said, look, they're going to bomb it in 3 days. They said the bombing goes forward, let them bomb it. He thought he was going to be framed for it. He came back in to an FBI conference room and recorded them all 3 days before the first World Trade Center bombing in 93, saying, let the bombing go forward. October 28th, 1993, huge expose, New York Times. You never heard anything else about it. Why did you hear about it that time? Because Mr. Salam called a news conference, played the tape. The feds admitted it was real. Took them a day to sweep it under the rug and get control of the media. Well, now we're in 2001. It's 8 years later, and they have the power and the control to pull this type of thing off. Also, the designer of the World Trade Centers is saying that there's no way that those planes could do that they could collapse in that fashion. So the government has responded with its experts saying the floors collapsed, building up pressure, and caused those buildings to go down. If that was the case, the designer of the World Trade Centers in the Chicago Tribune is saying that the building would have split apart, like we saw some of the top sections do, not fall in 5 seconds. Only demolition charges will do that. I will be interviewing General Benton Parton, former head of Air Force Weapons Development, on my nighttime radio broadcast this evening from 9 to midnight Central. I had the #1 show on FM for years here. It is syndicated across the country, but in the last 2 years, almost 2 years, I have been censored here in Austin, just like Mr. Hightower and others, so you'll have to tune in at Infowars.com. I'm live Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., and then, of course, back live from 9 to midnight.
Playing him back when he did. He was arrested by the government for treacherous actions against the state of Israel.
Tell you what, let me put you on hold. Can you guys boost his audio again now? Now I've lost him. This box is going bad. I don't know why it hadn't been replaced. Now you know why we have a lot of mistakes here on Access Television. You've been watching the national news. Yesterday they've been having even more screw-ups than we are right now. All I can say is this. I'm no fan of the Arabs. They're very terroristic. They're very stubborn. They think we're more screw-ups than we are right now. All I can say is this. I'm no fan of the Arabs. They're very terroristic. They're very stubborn. They think we're all their enemies. And they are behind a lot of these events. But bin Laden is a known CIA asset. Bottom line, we have to talk about that. It's an MSNBC. It's a known historical fact. He was armed and created by this government, and his family is still allowed to build our military bases in the Middle East. Now, that's not a security threat. The richest family in Saudi Arabia, next to King Fahd's family. He's now dead. who stands to gain from all of this? But, yes, Israel is conducting a Nazi attack on the Palestinian people. I have video of them killing women, killing children, bulldozing people's houses, killing their tomato plants, taking their buckets they use to collect rainwater. And all my life I was raised to hate the Arabs, hate the Arabs. And then last night Sharon moves in with tanks and starts slaughtering all the stuff going on there. The government allowed this to happen, let the terrorists do this, or did it themselves, so Israel can be nice and safe and nuke whoever they want and kill everybody for Lebensraum. You know, Hitler said living space. I don't like Adolf Hitler. I've protested the Klan. And I don't like what Israel does, calling the Palestinians goyim, subhuman. And I'll tell you right now, Iran's run by the great Satan too. It's all these world governments. I mean, they're really on the same team to suppress and oppress the people. I mean, here's the evidence. I mean, you know, we've made deals with Iran, Oliver North, the rest of them. Clinton's given them weapons. Clinton gave them a bunch of weapons to help out in attacking Serbia. Serbia saved our airmen and our soldiers by the thousands in World War II. They're being attacked by the Muslims. What do? We go bomb them and let the ethnic Albanians take over so the IMF and World Bank can get all that ore and oil out of Kosovo. We're attacking our own allies. Serbia was always on our side. There were no mass graves. Clinton lied to you like he did on everything else. See, all the sides you think are really there, it's all smoke and mirrors. And now people are calling for total all-out war and total all-out covert war, getting rid of the law against assassinating foreign leaders. And you're going to raise an even bigger generation of Osama bin Ladens who are going to nuke this country. And we're going to go over there and kill innocent people. Imagine not having water, not having power for 11 years. Imagine being bombed every week or every month. That's what the people of Iraq have been living under. Do I like Saddam Hussein, an evil bastard? Saddam Hussein, watch your History Channel, was put into power in 1974. 1975 by the Ba'ath Party, created by the Central Intelligence Agency to take over Iraq, to kill the Shiites, and then to move in against Iran in an 8-year war in the 1980s. And in 1990, April Glaspie, 5 days before the invasion of Kuwait, told Saddam Hussein on videotape, go ahead and invade Kuwait. We don't get involved in inter-Arab affairs. See, I know too much information. So we create Saddam, put him in power. We create bin Laden and put him in power. Little wind-up toys to suppress their populations. Oh, my neck hurts, man. I tell you, I'm so stressed from all this. I got knots all in my back. Been on the radio for like 10 hours a day, normally on 6 hours a day. Thank you, Mike. Mike gave me a nice shot of the building blowing up and collapsing, falling in only 6 seconds so I could pop my neck. There you go. There you go. They're getting more sophisticated than Oklahoma City. That baby coming down from the bottom up. Pieces of the unstable top falling as it went. That a big enough spectacle for you, ladies and gentlemen? Full of people. At least 30,000 dead when the numbers come out. So they've got our borders wide open. They've got China threatening to nuke us in their own newspapers, taking over the Panama Canal, moving into Cuba. They're hiring provocateurs for all these anti-globalization protests who go out and stir up a fight so the military can attack the peaceful demonstrators. Chucky Schumer was seen last night. I'm watching CBS, and there's the Senate and the House singing God Bless America, and Chucky after it's laughing and clapping and going. Can't hear his audio, but he's sitting there talking to Tom Daschle, and Tom Daschle's going. And like they're lovers or something, and they're just hugging going. And Chucky Schumer goes, I got it on tape. It's like on the 10 hours we got, Mike's got in there. We didn't have time to find it all. You'll have it in the future. You'll have Chucky Schumer going. I mean, literally, just. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate. This is what Chucky Schumer was doing. And Daschle's going. And they're going. Looks like that famous picture of Hitler, Mussolini, Hermann Goering, as they sign over Czechoslovakia and Poland with the Russians, and Hitler's going. And Mussolini's going. You know, Hitler just didn't blow up the Reichstag when he got elected chancellor to then abolish the presidency and declare himself the Führer, ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer, for Lebensraum, for living space. Horrible. He also, before they invaded and broke their deal with Russia, they attacked a German radio command and killed about 30 soldiers. And later it came out they actually killed their own soldiers. We have been attacked by the Polish. Move in. You know how old this is? There's an essay on my website with historical notes with dozens of examples of problem, reaction, solution confirmed throughout history. And I keep predicting this. I keep telling you, number one suspects, our government and the EU, using Muslim front people.
Alex Jones would continue to claim 9/11 as a hoax. This would be very detrimental to his career. He would lose nearly half his syndicated stations and nearly 25% of his audience. But this wouldn't dissuade Alex Jones. He would continue to expose his new world order. In fact, he would release a film about 9/11 by the end of 2001.
Isn't it about time
Yeah. You're a Messi. You're a Messi. Yeah. Who that nigga with a mask and a black metal blade? Trapped in his rap metal ways. Bad bitches back pedal day. Asked for the past several days. Viceroy knock. Might take a bat to your face. Might take you back to the grave. Might save a man from his fate. Death by killer with a lead pipe. Picture any next life. Visiting the west side. Villain and again die quicker if you test my niggas in revenge. I'm bitter in defense. I'm clever with a pen die. Hitting your pen die. Feel it in your stomach when I'm running through the next line. Ooh, boy, I got the game in a headlock with a red dot pressed to it if you check my move. Lord, spare you from your share of the warfare. Born here, it's been 4 years since I swarmed pairs formed here. I'll be forewarned of my form. Steer clear of the Avas, fear of the days I mirror the angels before sheer rage.